Okay, we are sitting at the starting line of summer. The season feels fresh, it feels new, the possibilities feel endless and open, but past years prove this magical season speeds by fast. So how can you make the next 3 months really count? Family researcher and BYU instructor Heather Johnson is joining me. So great to see you, my friend. We're like frantically catching up during commercial breaks here. You had an aha moment, and I'm smiling because I actually shared the same moment.
Did you?
Driving in the car, we heard the same ad apparently.
It's exactly right.
Set it up for us.
Well, I'm sitting on the couch one evening, and our son happens to be sitting next to me. He will be 15 next month, and an advertisement came on television saying that we only have 18 summers with our children. And I know this. I can do the math. I can count, and it struck me like a ton of bricks. I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm out of, he's almost 15. That leaves me 2, maybe three, depending on what he does after he graduates. What am I doing with my summer?
So I heard the radio version of that ad driving in my car, and I almost drove off the road because you start to really think about that, and there is a panic and a desperation that really sets in.
And 18 is not, it's one thing when I go 365, you know, and I'm counting days and months, but when you just simply look at 18 summers, holy moly, what are we doing with them? And what can we do with them so that they make an impact, so that when our kids are 40, they think back and think, yeah, that was a great time with my family.
Those are the time I made memories that I remember. So we're having this conversation nice and early. I'm so glad we are, with the goal to help us all make the summer count. You say first it starts with the idea of a novel. It does.
We need to make summers novel. And this is what I mean. Really great research shows us that when it comes to activities, we need 2 things. We need stability and security, and we need novelty and change. Naturally, the school year lends itself to a lot of stability. There's routine, ritual, everything's the same. It's very monotonous.
9 months out of the year, we've got that down.
It's exactly right. So summer is the perfect time to add novelty, to add change, to add different. We have to have that balance in our lives, or we kind of go crazy. We need it both. So it's a perfect time to say, all right, let's make things novel. Let's find things that are different and change it up a little bit. So when we do go back to school, it's that fresh transition instead of thinking our lives are always the same.
So different schedules, different routines, what are you talking about?
It could be trying something new. It could be lots of different things. But really just recognizing, let's look for things that add the change opposed to that. It will bring the stability, but it teaches us to adapt and negotiate and have a different experience. So that's what we're trying to do with it.
Stretching our flexibility muscles.
Right, right.
We talk a lot these days about this comparison trap, and you say we have to particularly be careful of this in the summer season. Why?
We do. We've got to, because it's very easy in the summer especially to look on social media and look at the people around us and compare everything we do to them and think that it has to look like their lives look. That's not what will make our summers meaningful for our children. If we start comparing, we never feel like we're enough. And the really detrimental thing about comparison is we're so busy comparing, we don't have enough energy to actually see what it is our own children and our own family need during these months, right? If my mind is always comparing to everyone else, trying to keep up with everyone else, I don't have energy or eyes to say, oh my gosh, this is what our son needs this summer, or this is what our girls need this summer. And so we've got to stop comparing. We've got to really make our own magic when it comes to summer. Everyone's magic looks different, and that's okay.
The Joneses could be in Hawaii. We could be in the backyard with Otter Pops.
It's exactly right.
Feel okay about it.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And we really have to let that go. And we can start doing this by recognizing what our own children's, I call it their summer love language. Our children have expectations for summer, ways they feel love and ways they want to spend that time.
And do you find those expectations are different than mom's?
Very different, right? And even our children are different. Our son, for example, he just finished his freshman year in high school, and he was very busy. He was up before the sun, you know, doing homework and sports till very late. For him, this summer looks like relaxing. He doesn't want to have to feel like there's a million things. Now, our daughter's very different. She's almost 13, and for her, she wants it packed full. Her expectations are to do all the things she can't do because she's too busy during school. And so if I don't recognize that they both have different expectations, they will finish these summer months and feel very unfulfilled. And so that's when they go back to school feeling like summer really didn't make any memories because they had expectations and I didn't help them meet them. So we've got to know those different love languages, we've got to recognize them, and then we've got to play to that and do those things. And we can look right in our own backyard, right? We're not implying great, grand, money, expensive things. It's just recognizing, what do you expect out of these months? and have that conversation, and then working with them.
Summer naturally lends itself to kind of the loose, unstructured, flexible way of living, which is fantastic, especially compared to the 9 months of structure in school we talked about. But sometimes I feel like in my head, can that loose, unstructured time also be meaningful?
It can, and that's really key here. And really what we want to do is we want to create this flow. And we use the word flow in a couple different ways, but flow is a word that we use to help us understand an optimal experience, which is really cool. There's so much research done on this. We know how to have an optimal experience. An optimal experience with our children for our children will happen when there's skill and there's challenge. There's got to be a challenge for them that's slightly greater than their abilities. And so when we look at what activities we can put into our summer months to make them optimal or meaningful, look for things that challenge children. Challenge. Now that again doesn't mean grandiose. It can be, you know, I don't know, our two oldest this summer, they get to scrape paint off poles and repaint them. That's a challenge. They don't know that skill. They've never learned it before. They're going to learn and we're going to have fun with it.
So we're pushing them.
It's exactly right.
Are we keeping routine though? Are we keeping some sort of structure to our day?
Some sort of structure is great. Structure is important for things like meal times and sleep. Those things. Everything else, let it be loose. And the reason that's really important, especially with those two things, is because it puts our children in a temperament where they can handle the flow of what summer looks like, so that they can have a good attitude, so that they're not exhausted, and so that they can transition back into school when it comes without it just rocking our families.
I love this next challenge you're throwing out there, to see summer from a child's point of view. You say if we do that, we'll start to see things differently.
We will, and we'll see that it's actually the little moments that matter much bigger than the grand things. We even have research that shows us that to make family connections, it's a 5 to 1. So 5 positive experiences to 1 negative, and very small, it's the little moments. Those grand things, they actually fill a child's tank the fastest, but it's the little moments that keep their tank full.
There's a beautiful clip online. We posted it on our Studio 5 Facebook page. You may have seen it. It was an advertisement around Mother's Day, but it showed a day from a mom's perspective where the cake drops on the ground and the tantrums happen. And then it shows it from the child's perspective where the tantrum happened after she buckled herself in her car seat, or the frosting and the giggles happened after the cake fell on the floor. And it's a beautiful parallel to see how they see the world. It's different.
It is. It's very different. And so when we're so focused again on comparing and that it has to be expensive and we must go somewhere and do, we really need to look in our own homes, our own backyard, our own cities and towns, and recognize that right around us are such great things, and that those little moments, that's what after 18 summers our children go off with. And it's a great opportunity too, if you want to make memories this summer, teach your children to serve other people. Beautiful memories happen when we open their eyes to the fact that there are needs around us, and when we fill needs, we fill ourselves. It's just a beautiful way to attack these next couple months without feeling like my life has just, you know, been so overwhelmed because I'm putting all this money, all this time, all this energy, and it makes summer meaningful for our kids.
I am charged and excited to not let summer roll over us, but really embrace it for these meaningful moments. Heather, thank you. You're helping couples and families all the time work through issues and make the most of their own relationships.
Yes, it's such a great opportunity. I have my own practice, so if your family is in need or your marriage is in need, reach out. All my information is on the Studio 5 website.
Thank you so